Hi, my name is Jordan at Bulmann Dock and Lift, and today we're going to go over how to assemble a 1351 PWC lift. The first step is going to be getting all your components together and getting it unpackaged. So the lift comes assembled with all the aluminum pieces here, and the PVC and the hardware pack and winch wheel are in separate boxes. So first thing we're going to do is remove the optional bow stop. That comes packaged if you're going to use it. If not, it's not there. We'll set that off to the side. Then we're going to remove the winch arm tube. Set that off to the side for now. Next, we're going to remove the frame spreaders here. Push the bed back a little bit. Set that off to the side. Then we can remove the cantilever arms. And set those off to the side. And finally, I'm going to remove the lifting bed. Next, we're going to open up our winch assembly here. And find our hardware pack. Next, we're going to undo the bolts holding the shipping spreaders in and spread the lift. Use 9/16 wrenches to loosen the bolts. Okay, after removing all 8 nuts from them, we can put the nuts aside. We'll be saving the bolts to reuse them. The nuts are replaced with the ones from the hardware pack. Pull the bolts off and set the shipping spreaders aside. We won't be using those. Then we're going to move the port side away from the starboard side and install the frame spreaders. Next, we're going to grab some hardware out of our skin pack here. We're going to get the top 8 nuts out to use for the frame spreader, reusing the 3/8 bolts that we removed. It's important to install the frame spreader with these angle brackets facing towards the back of the lift and offset towards the bottom. So that just drops right into the channel there. Reinstall the bolts. Thread the nut on for now, but don't tighten. We'll tighten it after all 8 bolts are installed. Same thing with the back, making sure the bracket's offset towards the bottom and facing the rear of the lift. Bolt goes in from the back of the lift towards the front. Thread the nuts on, and we'll go over to the other side. Put the bolt in from the rear. If it doesn't go all the way through, you might have to switch to the other side and square up the lift. With the lift spreaders installed and the lift's nice and square now because all 8 bolts went in, we're going to torque them to 19 foot-pounds. All right. Next, we're going to go back to our hardware pack and grab 4 of the 1/2 by 4-inch hex bolts. And then 8 of the half aluminum nuts. 1 bolt and 2 nuts at each corner. And then we're gonna grab one of our cantilever frames. Remove the shipping zip ties. These install with the angle gussets up. Both of them are the same front and back. Super easy. They drop into the channel there. Line the hole up. Put the bolt through. Repeat on the other side. Bolts go from the inside of the lift to the outside. And then we can thread an aluminum nut on it. Then, using our 3/4 wrenches, I'm going to tighten it up. Tighten it till it's nice and snug and make sure that the frame can still pivot and it's not dragging. Then thread the other aluminum nut on it. This acts as a jam nut to keep the assembly from loosening up. And then hold the first nut and tighten the second nut down against it. And we're going to repeat that for all 4 corners. Verify that the cantilever arm can still pivot freely. Thread the second nut on. And then jam them together. Next, we're going to install the PWC lifting bed. So to do this, I'm going to fold down the cantilever arms. Then, on our hardware pack, I'm going to grab the other 4 1/2 by 4-inch hex bolts. And some more of the aluminum nuts. 2 per bolt. Then I'm going to pick up the lifting bed and put it into place. The side with the cut and the hole drilled through it is towards the front for attaching the winch to it. So we're going to pick it up. And bring it in. And install my first bolt. Just thread a nut on. We'll tighten it after all 4 of them are installed. Bolt through, thread the second, or thread the nut on it. Then we'll go to the back. Put the bolt through it. You might have to pick up on the bed a little bit to get everything to align. Thread the nut on it. Put the bolt through. Thread the nut on it. Then we can pick the lifting bed up and tie it into place for the rest of the assembly. So to do that, we're going to use a piece of strapping or rope or something that we can wrap around the bed and hold it up towards the top. So we're going to step inside and just pick up and move forward with it. Then wrap around the upright and hook back to the bed. Now, we can repeat the same process we did on the bottom of the cantilever frame and tighten the nuts up and install the jam nut. And tighten the nuts against themselves. All right, the main frame is assembled on the 1351 now. Next we'll move on to assembling the winch. From the hardware pack, we're gonna need the single 3/8 by 5/8 bolt. We're assembling this lift in a starboard configuration, which is how all of them come packaged. So we're gonna take the winch arm, and there's a tap pad on here for the bolt to go in. That's gonna go facing towards the bottom so the sticker is up. And that's just gonna go over this tube, the one without the cap on it. Push it down until it seats. Thread the 3/8 by 5/8 bolt in there. And torque it to 12 foot-pounds. Next, we'll get the bolts out of the hardware pack to install the winch. We're gonna need the two 3/8 by 3 hex bolts, the two 3/8 silicon bronze nuts, and the two 3/8 flat washers. Then, we'll get a step ladder positioned in place on the inside of the lift for winch installation, and our two 9/16 wrenches. Then the wheel is going to face towards the outside of the lift. Feed the 3/8 by 3 bolt up through the bottom. Install a washer, and then thread one of the bronze nuts on. Don't tighten it yet. Then we can install the second one. Might have to let some of the winch cable out to get clearance. Install a washer and the other hex nut. Then we can tighten them up. Next, we're going to unspool the winch to install the winch cable to the lifting bed. Recommend anytime you're handling a steel cable, you have protection on. So we're going to grab a hold of the cable assembly and then turn the winch wheel counterclockwise. And we're going to want to unspool it all the way because it's without tension on it, the cable is going to get wrapped up on itself. So, now that the winch is unspooled, we can install the cable. To do that, we're going to need the 1/2x3 bolt, the 1/2" flat washer, and the 1/2" silicon bronze nut. I'm going to take the end of the cable here, where it has the loop on it, and that's going to line up with this hole on the port side weldment. Take the bolt, install the washer on it, place it through the crimp loop on the cable, put it through the bolt hole, and install the 1/2" nut. Line up the cable so it's parallel with the piece of 2", and then we can snug it up. Next, we're going to install the pulley blocks onto the lifting bed. To do that, we're going to need the 1/2x4.5 bolts, 4 nylon flat washers, and the remaining aluminum 1/2" nuts. There's 2 pulley blocks on the winch cable. We're going to install these to the slots in the lifting bed right here. The bronze lock nut faces down. So we take the 2 nylon flat washers, line them up with the 1/2" hole going through the pulley block on the inside side of the block. Then take our bolt, get everything lined up, and then install the bolt through the block, through the 2 washers, and out the other side. And then we can thread the nut on it. Take our wrenches and snug it up. Not too tight. Make sure it still can pivot. And then install the second aluminum nut. And tighten them together. Take the pulley block and make sure that the lock nut is facing down. And then we're going to come in here, take the 2 nylon flat washers, line them up with the block, making sure they're towards the inside of the lift. Once it's lined up, and put the bolt through. Install the first nut. Snug it up. Make sure the block can still pivot. And then install the second nut. And tighten them together. Now we can spool the cable back on the drum. You're going to want a glove when handling the cable. So I'm going to put some tension on the cable and turn the winch wheel clockwise, feeding the cable onto the winch drum consistently and smoothly, making sure that it doesn't get tangled up or wrapped wrong. Okay, now we can remove the strap holding the lifting bed up, because the winch cable is supporting the bed now. And all that's left to do is to install the guide PVC that comes in the box. They drop right over the aluminum post there. And then we can install the optional bow stop. To install the optional bow stop, we're going to use the last two bolts in the hardware pack, the two 3/8 by 5/8. We're going to take these bolts and we're going to just get them started in the threaded aluminum on the front of the lifting bed. The bow stop will slide into these pockets and allows for adjustability to fit your PWC. Bow stop installs by picking it up, lining it up with the two pockets, and sliding it in. And this can be adjusted front to back to center the PWC on the lift in the field. And then once it's adjusted, we can just tighten the two bolts down to set it into position. And finally, with the optional bow stop comes another box that has two more pieces of PVC in it to finish off the guide system. And those just slide right over the post, and the lift's fully assembled. Now that the lift's fully assembled, go through and verify that all the fasteners are tight, and then we're going to run the lift down and back up to verify that it works. Everything looks good, so we can run the lift back up. And the lift's ready for install. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please contact your local Bulmann dock and lift dealer or visit us at bulmanndock.com.